The Galactic Defense Academy was unlike any other training ground in the galaxy. Towering spires of glass and metal shimmered under the light of 3 suns, casting long shadows over the training fields. Inside the massive combat simulation hall, cadets from dozens of star systems had gathered, their uniforms bright and varied, reflecting the colors and insignias of their home worlds. Some had 4 arms, some 2. Some moved on wheels or tentacles, but all had one thing in common. They were here to learn the art of combat in a galaxy where danger was never far away. A soft hum filled the hall as the simulation field came to life. Holographic targets floated in mid-air, and energy projectors lined the walls. In the center of the room stood Captain Vorel, a tall, imposing figure from the Vorelian species. His exoskeleton glinted under the bright lights, and his eyes, sharp and calculating, scanned the cadets. He was a veteran of countless battles, and had a reputation for being strict, even ruthless, in training. Yet he was respected. He had seen what the galaxy could throw at you, and he knew what it took to survive. "Attention, cadets," Vorel's voice echoed, rich and commanding. "Today, you will learn why tradition has no place in modern combat. Steel, iron, or any simple metal cannot survive the energy weapons that dominate the battlefield. Observe and understand. Do not question. Do not hesitate. This is reality." The cadets shuffled in their positions, some standing rigidly, others whispering to each other. Among them was Elira Quinn, a human cadet who had drawn curious glances since her first day. Unlike many others, she wore a simple suit of light armor, her hair tied back neatly, and her hands resting calmly at her sides. She was small compared to many of the alien cadets, but there was a quiet confidence in her posture, a calm that seemed to exist independently of her surroundings. Her eyes, a striking shade of amber, followed every movement of Captain Vorel. Vorel strode to the center of the field, holding a sleek, glowing plasma baton in his hand. The weapon hummed softly, casting a bluish light. "Steel can't block plasma," he said, lifting the baton. His voice carried both amusement and certainty. "It cannot. And anyone who believes otherwise will be quickly corrected." "Ender." The cadets exchanged glances. Some snickered. The aliens who had grown up relying on energy shields or advanced armor thought the demonstration would be simple. This would be over in moments. But their attention shifted as Elira stepped forward. Slowly, deliberately, she reached for the small scabbard at her side and unsheathed a steel sword. The metal gleamed, catching the light from the plasma baton. A hush fell over the hall. Some cadets blinked. One of the larger Vorelian cadets whispered, "She's going to be vaporized." Others shook their heads in disbelief. Humans were clever, they had heard. But this was something different. She wasn't wielding a shield, not activating any visible energy field, just a simple sword. Vorel's eyes narrowed, but his lips curved in a small smile. "Interesting," he murmured. The class looked on, waiting for the inevitable. The plasma baton flared to life, a ribbon of energy arcing along its length. With a swift movement, Vorel struck forward, aiming directly at the human cadet. Elira lifted her sword. And then something unexpected happened. The sword met the plasma head-on. There was a bright flare of light, and for a fraction of a second, it seemed impossible. Sparks, almost like tiny stars, danced across the blade, but it did not melt. The tip of the baton recoiled slightly, as if meeting an invisible wall. Elira's arms held steady, her grip firm, her stance balanced and controlled. The hall fell silent. Even the whispers stopped. Cadets froze in disbelief. The instructors who had accompanied Vorel looked at each other, unsure of what they had just seen. Vorel himself raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise crossing his usually unreadable expression. Alira's voice broke the silence, calm, quiet, but carrying a weight of certainty that made everyone listen. "Steel is only the surface," she said. The words were simple, but their meaning rippled across the room. The cadets realized she was not just blocking the plasma by chance. There was knowledge, skill, and understanding behind every move. Her stance, the angle of the sword, even the way she shifted her weight, it was all deliberate. A combination of discipline and subtle technique. Vorel paused. He lowered the plasma baton slightly, observing. The cadets could see the change in him, a momentary doubt, quickly masked by his usual commanding presence. But it was enough. Enough to make the cadets lean forward, curious, intrigued, and cautious all at once. "Demonstrate," Vorel said finally, his voice steady but now tinged with interest. "Show me what you can do." Alira nodded. She did not smile, did not boast. She simply adjusted her stance and waited, her eyes scanning the instructor's every move. The cadets were tense, eager to see whether this human would survive, and if she would, how. Vorel lunged again, faster this time, the plasma baton slicing through the air with a hiss. Sparks flew as the sword met the weapon. Alira pivoted, using the momentum to guide the energy harmlessly along the blade. It was not just defense, it was control. Every strike she met was absorbed, dispersed, and redirected. She did not fight recklessly. She calculated, predicting the movements before they came, her training and instincts blending seamlessly. The hall was filled with the sound of clashing energy and metal. Some of the younger cadets gasped. The older ones whispered excitedly, trying to understand what they were witnessing. Humans had always been underestimated. They were small, fragile compared to many species, but here was one proving that cleverness and skill could outweigh raw technology. Vorel stepped back, circling her slowly. Each strike from him was met with precision, and Alira's movements were fluid, almost like water flowing around obstacles. She was human, yes, but she was something more, a fusion of discipline, innovation, and instinct. Finally, Vorel raised his baton and stopped mid-strike. He looked at the cadets, and then at Alira. "Enough," he said, a note of admiration entering his voice, though he would never fully admit it. "The point is made." The cadets remained silent for a moment, absorbing the lesson. This was not a show of strength. It was a demonstration of potential, of ingenuity. They had expected the human to fail. They had expected sparks and a quick defeat. Instead, they saw something that challenged their assumptions, something that reminded them that appearances could be deceiving. Alira lowered her sword, her breathing steady, her posture calm. Her eyes, however, spoke volumes. They held confidence, clarity, and an unspoken message. Humans were not to be underestimated. Captain Vorel looked around the hall, at the cadets who were still staring, mouths slightly open, and said, "Lesson 1. Never assume a weapon defines a warrior. Skill, understanding, and adaptability do. Remember that." And with that, the first lesson of the day had ended. But in the minds of everyone present, the human cadet had already left a mark that would not fade easily. As Alira walked back to her place, the other cadets began to murmur, cautiously respectful now. Some nodded subtly. Others studied her movements. They had just witnessed a human do something no one thought possible. And for the first time in the academy, many of them wondered just how far could humanity push the limits of combat. The hall buzzed softly with anticipation. A new energy running through the cadets. They had expected a lesson about the superiority of technology. Instead, they had learned something far more valuable: the strength of creativity, courage, and mastery of skill. And somewhere deep in the back of their minds, a thought began to form. Perhaps humans were not just survivors. They were pioneers in ways the galaxy had yet to see. The hall was still buzzing from Elira's unexpected demonstration. Cadets whispered among themselves, their voices a mix of admiration and disbelief. Some recorded the moment with small devices, eager to show others back on their home planets. Others simply stared, unable to comprehend how a human could block plasma with a simple steel sword. Even Captain Vorel, the instructor who had expected a quick display of failure, found himself reconsidering the human cadet's potential. Vorel's voice cut through the murmurs, commanding attention. "Elira Quinn, step forward. It is time for a full demonstration." The cadets straightened. Some shifted uneasily, realizing this was no ordinary class exercise. The challenge was about to begin. Elira stepped forward calmly, her sword still in hand, her amber eyes scanning the field. She didn't rush or appear nervous. Her confidence was quiet but unmistakable, the kind that made others pause before making assumptions. Vorel activated the simulation chamber further. Holographic walls formed, creating a complex arena filled with moving obstacles, energy fields, and automated drones. Each drone was armed with small plasma emitters, programmed to attack in patterns designed to overwhelm even advanced alien cadets. "This will not be simple," Vorel said, addressing the cadets who observed from the sidelines. "This is a true test of skill, reflex, and strategy. Watch closely, because what you see here is what survival demands in real combat." Elira nodded once and moved into position at the center of the arena. The drones hummed softly, then sprang to life, their movements quick and precise. They attacked in waves, firing beams of concentrated plasma. Most cadets would have panicked under the speed and intensity of the assault, but Elira was unshaken. She raised her sword, its surface glinting under the bright lights. The first plasma beam struck the blade, and a small burst of light flashed. Sparks danced briefly, then disappeared. Elira pivoted gracefully, redirecting the energy along the edge of the sword. Her movements were precise, almost like a dance. Cadets on the sidelines gasped. They had never seen such control. Each strike from the drones seemed to test her limits, but she did not falter. She anticipated the patterns, adapting instantly. With every blocked attack, she learned and adjusted, moving faster and more efficiently. Vorel observed carefully, noting each of Elira's movements. "Interesting," he muttered to himself. "The human doesn't just block attacks, she uses them." Indeed, Elira was not merely defending herself. The energy from the plasma hits was absorbed into the sword's lattice, a hidden feature she had trained to master. The absorbed energy gave her slight bursts of speed and strength, allowing her to move with more agility than the drones expected. It was as if the sword was alive, responding to her intentions with subtle assistance. The cadets whispered among themselves. "She's turning their attacks against them," one said. "It's like she's controlling the battle, not just reacting." Another nodded, wide-eyed. "Humans, they're unpredictable. I didn't know they could do this." Vorel decided to increase the difficulty. He activated additional drones, faster and more agile than the previous ones. Energy barriers appeared along the walls, forcing Elira to move in unexpected directions. The arena became a maze, challenging her coordination, reflexes, and awareness. Elira moved seamlessly. She ducked, weaved, and spun, her sword always meeting the plasma attacks head-on. Sparks flew as beams met steel, but nothing penetrated her defense. She guided the energy away, sometimes sending it back toward the drones with controlled swings. Within moments, several drones were disabled, their circuits overloaded by their own redirected plasma beams. The cadets watching were stunned. Many had studied alien combat tactics extensively, but they had never seen such efficiency and creativity. Humans had a reputation for ingenuity, but Elira's performance exceeded expectations. Her every movement showed discipline, planning, and an understanding of energy that went beyond what most cadets had learned. Vorel nodded slightly. He had underestimated her not intentionally, but due to the assumptions everyone made about humans. They were new to many parts of the galaxy, often underestimated. And yet here was one proving that strength was not only about size or technology. It was about intelligence, adaptability, and skill. Notice her technique, Vorel said, raising his voice for the observers. Humans combine strategy, timing, and intuition. They may appear weak or small, but their understanding of energy and motion allows them to perform feats others cannot. Learn from this. Alira continued her controlled assault, taking down more drones. Each attack was precise, her movements fluid and confident. She did not rush. She did not waste energy. Every swing, every pivot, every block had a purpose. It was as if she had studied not only the weapon, but also the intentions of her attackers. Some cadets began murmuring excitedly, trying to analyze her patterns. One of the younger aliens whispered, "She's predicting their attacks, almost before they happen." "Yes," another replied. "Her movements aren't just reactive, they're anticipatory. She reads the energy flow, then adapts instantly." Vorel watched for a long moment. "Humans," he muttered. "They turn weakness into advantage." He decided to make the test even harder. The arena's lights dimmed slightly, and holographic projections of enemies appeared, simulating more complex attack strategies. The drones moved faster, weaving through barriers, attacking from unexpected angles. Some fired in bursts, others in continuous streams of plasma. Alira adjusted her stance slightly but remained calm. The sword in her hand hummed faintly as it absorbed energy. Sparks flew with every block, creating a dazzling display of light. She moved like a stream of water, flowing around the attacks, redirecting energy, disabling drones without striking them directly. Each movement was efficient, conserving energy, maximizing effect. The observers were in awe. Even the seasoned alien cadets, who had been trained for years, watched in silence. It was rare to see someone so small, so seemingly fragile, control the battlefield with such precision and calm. Vorel finally spoke again, addressing the cadets. "Remember this demonstration. Strength is not always raw power. Technology is not always the solution. Observation, anticipation, and skill can surpass even the most advanced weapon. And humans do not underestimate them. They have a way of turning the impossible into the possible." Alira, in the center of the arena, paused for a moment, letting the last few drones come toward her. She assessed their movements, then moved in a fluid motion, striking in a way that redirected the final plasma beams harmlessly into the walls. One by one, the drones powered down, their attacks neutralized. The hall erupted into applause. Cadets were on their feet, cheering, clapping, and some even bowing slightly in respect. It was not only her skill, but her composure that impressed them. She had faced overwhelming odds, yet she never panicked. Every move was deliberate. Every action calculated. Vorel stepped forward, lowering the plasma baton. He looked at Alira with an expression that mixed respect, curiosity, and something almost like admiration. "Well done, Cadet Quinn," he said. "Your performance today is remarkable. You have shown what I suspected but never fully believed. Humans combine ingenuity with courage, and that combination is formidable." Alira simply nodded. She did not boast or celebrate. Her focus was always on the task, on understanding the challenge, on using skill to overcome it. The applause washed over her, but she remained centered, calm, and disciplined. As she walked back to her place among the other cadets, whispers followed her. How does she do that? One asked. I don't know, another replied. But I want to learn. Vorel turned to the observing cadets and instructors. Take note, he said firmly. This is what real combat training looks like. Technology alone does not guarantee victory. The mind, the body, and the spirit must work together. Humans may be small, but never underestimate what they can achieve when all three align. The cadets returned to their positions, inspired and motivated. Some were eager to try techniques they had never considered. Others were curious to study human methods more closely. And somewhere deep in the academy, the thought lingered. Humanity was not just another species. They were innovators, pioneers, and warriors in their own right. Alira sat quietly, her sword resting at her side. She had passed the test, yes. But more importantly, she had made her peers and instructors reconsider what they thought they knew about humans. She had proven that even in a galaxy dominated by advanced technology, the power of skill, discipline, and creativity could not be ignored. The lesson had begun, but in reality, it was only the first step in a long journey that would challenge not only the cadets, but the galaxy itself. The arena had finally quieted. The drones lay scattered across the field, disabled, their plasma cores dark. The cadets who had been watching Alira's performance could hardly believe what they had seen. Whispers and murmurs ran through the hall, a mixture of awe and confusion. Humans, they realized, were far more capable than many had assumed. Captain Vorel stepped forward, his usual commanding presence softened by genuine curiosity. Cadet Quinn, he said, his voice deliberate. Your skill is remarkable. But I want to understand, how is it that a simple, steel sword can withstand and even manipulate plasma energy? Alira looked at him calmly, holding her sword steady. She did not rush to answer, choosing instead her words carefully. It's not just steel, she said softly, almost as if speaking to herself. There's more inside it. The cadets leaned forward, eager to hear her explanation. This was unusual. Humans were known for ingenuity, but most preferred action over discussion. Yet Alira spoke with clarity and purpose, and every eye turned toward her. The sword contains a special lattice, she continued. It is designed to absorb and disperse energy. Plasma hits the steel surface, but the lattice inside channels the energy along paths that prevent the blade from melting. In fact, it can store energy temporarily, giving the wielder a controlled advantage. The aliens stared, a mixture of astonishment and disbelief. Vorel's brow furrowed. He had encountered advanced weapons before, plasma shields and reactive armor. But this was different. It was as if the sword itself had a mind, responding to its user, enhancing their abilities subtly without overpowering them. You're saying it stores energy? One of the younger cadets asked. Does that mean it can be used to strike back with the plasma it absorbs? Alira nodded slightly. Yes, but only in controlled bursts. If used recklessly, it could overload or even harm the wielder. It requires focus, timing, and understanding of energy flow. Vorel walked slowly around her, observing the sword from every angle. This is human engineering? He asked, genuinely intrigued. Alira allowed herself a small nod. Partly engineering, partly technique. Humans have been studying both old and new methods for centuries. We take ideas from the past and improve them, blending them with modern science. The lattice inside the steel is designed to complement the wielder, not replace skill. Without training, it's just metal. The cadets exchanged amazed glances. They had always relied on advanced armor and energy shields to give them an edge. Most had never considered that a simple weapon, in the right hands, could be so powerful. Alira had proven that creativity, discipline, and knowledge could overcome what seemed impossible. Vorel stopped in front of her. I underestimated you. Not because you are human, but because I assumed technology alone defines power. Your skill, your understanding of energy. It is remarkable. You have taken something old steel and made it extraordinary. Alira remained calm, almost serene. She had expected that some would understand, some would not. But she was here to demonstrate that humans were not bound by convention. We innovate, adapt, and improve. She had shown the first step. There was more yet to reveal. Vorel signaled to the simulation controllers. The holographic arena shifted again. Walls rising and falling, creating a more complex environment. New drones appeared, more advanced than before. Some had dual plasma emitters, others moved faster and predicted motion patterns. Now, Vorel said, show me how you would handle a more realistic battlefield. Alira gripped her sword, feeling the hum of stored energy within its lattice. The first wave of drones attacked immediately, firing in synchronized patterns designed to confuse. Alira moved with grace, every swing of her blade precise. She did not merely block. She controlled the energy. Plasma that struck her sword flowed harmlessly along its surface, then dissipated safely into the arena's floor. The cadets watched in silent awe. Every movement Alira made was deliberate, efficient, and purposeful. She had turned what was a chaotic attack into something manageable, almost elegant. Her understanding of energy flow was extraordinary. She could predict the trajectory of plasma, the timing of drones, and the movement of barriers. Every obstacle was met with intelligence and creativity, not brute force. See this, Vorel said to the observing cadets, gesturing toward Alira. Notice the subtlety. Humans do not rely solely on power. They rely on understanding, prediction, and control. That is why even a simple steel sword can overcome advanced technology. Alira continued through the arena, using stored energy to give her brief bursts of speed. She dodged, spun, and deflected, disabling drone after drone. Some cadets began to murmur, trying to analyze her technique. She's reading them, one whispered. Not just reacting, she knows what they will do before they do it. Yes, another replied. And the sword? Vorel observed silently, making mental notes. He had encountered many species, studied countless combat forms, and yet this human cadet was teaching him something new. It was rare to see such harmony between technology and skill, between mind and weapon. Alira paused briefly, assessing the remaining drones. She had learned their patterns, predicted their movements, and understood how to neutralize them efficiently. With a series of precise movements, she redirected energy from multiple drones into the floor, causing them to shut down. The last few attempted to regroup, but she moved with calm efficiency, guiding them into harmless collisions. When the final drone fell, the arena went silent again. Cadets stared at her in awe, some with mouths slightly open. Even Vorel, who rarely showed emotion, allowed a faint smile. You have proven something today, he said. Not just to me, but to everyone observing. You have shown that mastery of skill, combined with ingenuity, can surpass even the most advanced technology. Alira lowered her sword slowly, her amber eyes scanning the hall. She did not need to speak further. The lesson was clear. Humans were not merely survivors. They were innovators, blending old knowledge with new techniques, challenging assumptions, and redefining what was possible. The cadets who had doubted her now looked at her with a mixture of respect and curiosity. Many made mental notes, eager to learn from her, to understand what made her so effective. Even the older cadets, veterans of advanced combat training, were humbled. Vorel turned to the class. Take this lesson to heart, he said. Technology alone does not guarantee success. That's intelligence, discipline, and adaptability can turn even a simple weapon into a tool of incredible power. Humans may seem ordinary, but they possess qualities we are only beginning to understand. Never underestimate them. Alira returned to her position among the cadets, her expression calm. She had passed the test, revealed the truth behind her sword, and changed the perceptions of everyone in the room. The whispers continued, filled with newfound respect. For the first time, many cadets began to see humans, not as newcomers, fragile and small, but as innovators capable of surprising the galaxy in ways no one had imagined. And somewhere deep in the academy, a thought took root. Perhaps humans were not just adapting to the galaxy, they were quietly leading the way. The lesson was far from over, but Alira had already accomplished something remarkable. She had not only demonstrated skill, but had also revealed the secret behind her weapon, showing that innovation and mastery could overcome the expected limits of technology. The hall slowly emptied, but the murmurs of admiration continued. Cadets replayed the events in their minds, analyzing each move, each block, each deflection. The story of the human cadet and her sword would spread through the academy, becoming a lesson for generations to come. And Alira? She remained focused, knowing that this was only the beginning. There would be more tests, more challenges, and more opportunities to prove that humans were not just capable, they were exceptional. The Academy's main arena was quiet now. But only for a moment. Captain Varel stepped forward, his gaze sharp, his voice carrying the weight of authority and anticipation. "Cadet Quinn, the final test begins," he said. "This is no ordinary challenge. The simulation will now push your limits. Speed, strategy, endurance, and precision will all be tested. Show us what you are truly capable of." Alira nodded, gripping her sword. She had anticipated this. Every human cadet trained not only with strength, but with understanding, discipline, and foresight. She had spent years preparing for challenges just like this, blending traditional swordsmanship with modern technology and tactical thinking. While other species often relied solely on advanced equipment, humans learned to adapt, to see patterns, and to respond in ways that machines could not predict. The arena transformed instantly. Walls rose and fell, forming a maze of holographic corridors. Drones equipped with rapid plasma emitters and tracking sensors appeared, moving faster and more unpredictably than before. Energy traps activated along the floors and walls, ready to immobilize or redirect any careless movement. The challenge was intense, designed to overwhelm the best cadets. Yet Alira remained calm, her amber eyes scanning every detail. The first wave of drones struck simultaneously, firing plasma in intricate, interwoven patterns. Many cadets would have frozen, overwhelmed by the speed and complexity of the attack. But Alira flowed. She moved fluidly, her sword slicing the air with precision. Every plasma strike that hit her blade was absorbed into the energy lattice, spreading harmlessly through the steel and storing small bursts of energy for controlled use. Cadets observing from the sidelines whispered, "She's controlling them," one said. "It's not just defense, it's strategy. She's turning attacks into advantages." Another nodded, wide-eyed. "Humans. They predict the patterns, even before the drones fire." Indeed, Alira's training was different from what most species considered. Humans combined physical conditioning, tactical knowledge, and acute observation skills. They trained in unpredictability, learning to adapt to challenges without relying solely on brute force. While other cadets had studied drone patterns, Alira had studied the principles behind them: energy flow, motion trajectories, timing, and spacing. She moved as if she could see the invisible threads connecting every drone, every trap, every potential strike. Varel watched carefully. He had seen many cadets, many species, fight under pressure. Few could maintain calm under chaos, and fewer still could control the energy directed against them. Alira was doing both, absorbing energy from plasma strikes while analyzing and predicting the next wave of attacks. Every movement was precise, economical, and deliberate. The second wave introduced more obstacles. Holographic barriers flickered into place, forcing Elira to change direction multiple times. Drones fired in unpredictable sequences, some splitting into multiple units mid-flight. Elira adjusted instantly. A quick pivot here, a controlled step there, and the plasma blasts were deflected along the sword, dissipating safely into the arena's floor. With a swift movement, she disabled several drones by redirecting their energy back into the walls, causing temporary short circuits. The observers were captivated. Cadets who had considered themselves highly trained were studying Elira's every motion, trying to understand how a human could do so much with a single steel sword. Some whispered in disbelief, "She's faster than I thought possible." Others added, "And so precise. Every block, every redirection, it's perfect." Vorel decided to test her further. He activated the third wave, a combination of drones, laser grids, and moving walls that required both speed and strategy. The arena became a labyrinth of danger. Any misstep could mean immobilization or a failed simulation. Yet Elira moved without hesitation, her sword guiding her through the chaos. She ducked under a swinging plasma trap, deflecting a drone's beam at the same time. She jumped over an energy grid, landing lightly, ready for the next attack. Every motion was calculated yet smooth, her body and sword working as a single unit. The observers noticed the subtle glow along her blade, the stored energy from absorbed plasma. It was not just defense, it amplified her reflexes, giving her brief, controlled bursts of speed. Cadets whispered, "She's using the energy. She's turning the attacks into fuel for her movements." "Yes," another replied, amazed. "She's controlling the battle without even attacking directly. That's genius." Vorel's eyes narrowed in thought. Humans were indeed remarkable. They did not rely solely on advanced weapons or shields. Instead, they blended traditional skills, discipline, and strategy in ways other species often overlooked. Elira's sword was a perfect example of this philosophy. Simple on the surface, extraordinary in function. The final wave approached a mix of all previous obstacles: faster drones, unpredictable plasma patterns, and a maze of shifting walls. Elira adjusted her stance, her amber eyes calm but alert. She had anticipated this moment, trained for it mentally and physically. Every human cadet knew the importance of preparation, of patience, and of controlled focus. As the wave attacked, Elira flowed through the arena like water. She deflected beams, redirected energy, and moved through the maze effortlessly. Her sword hummed faintly, storing energy from each strike and using it to enhance her movements. She did not panic. She did not rush. Each step, each swing, each pivot was deliberate. The observing cadets leaned forward, unable to look away. "She's incredible," one whispered. "I've never seen anyone move like this." Another added, "And with just a sword, she doesn't need a shield. She doesn't need armor. She's unstoppable." Elira continued through the maze, her training and preparation evident in every movement. She anticipated drone patterns, avoided traps, and neutralized threats efficiently. Energy flowed harmlessly along her blade, giving her the confidence to move swiftly and precisely. She was not just surviving the challenge, she was controlling it. Finally, the last drones were disabled, the energy traps deactivated. The maze returned to its original form. Elira stood in the center, calm, her sword at her side, its faint glow fading as stored energy dispersed harmlessly. The hall erupted into applause. Cadets were on their feet, cheering, clapping, and some even bowed in respect. They had witnessed something extraordinary, not just skill, but mastery of energy, strategy, and self-discipline. Vorel stepped forward, lowering his plasma baton. "Cadet Quinn," he said, his voice filled with admiration. "You have demonstrated what few species can. Control over chaos, mastery of skill, and the ability to turn potential danger into advantage. Humans are not just survivors, they are innovators, and you have proven it here today." Alira nodded slightly, her calm demeanor unchanged. She had passed the test, yes, but more importantly, she had shown her peers and instructors that humans were not to be underestimated. Her training, patience, and understanding had made her a force even the most advanced technology could not easily overcome. The cadets began to whisper among themselves, sharing observations, asking questions, and analyzing every movement they had seen. Some were inspired to train differently, incorporating aspects of human discipline into their own routines. Others were simply amazed at the unexpected power and ingenuity of a species they had once underestimated. Vorel addressed the class one final time. "Take note," he said firmly. "This is the lesson of the day. Skill, discipline, and intelligence can surpass technology. Humans may appear ordinary, but their approach to combat is extraordinary. Never underestimate them." Alira returned to her place among the cadets, calm and composed. She had demonstrated not just her abilities, but the unseen training that made humans exceptional. Observation, preparation, adaptability, and control, these were the pillars of her success. And she had proven that even in the most chaotic environments, humans could excel through mastery and ingenuity. The academy buzzed with energy and excitement. Cadets replayed the events in their minds, analyzing every move, every redirection of energy, every controlled burst of speed. Humans had shown them that there was more to combat than raw strength or advanced technology. Skill, discipline, and intelligence could redefine the battlefield. Alira sat quietly, her sword resting at her side. She had shown her capabilities, impressed her instructors, and inspired her peers. But she also knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was full of challenges, and humans would continue to adapt, innovate, and lead in ways others had yet to imagine. The arena was silent now, but it thrummed with tension. Captain Vorel stood at the edge, his arms crossed, observing the cadets' expressions. Today had already tested their limits, but he had one final challenge for Alira Quinn. This was not just a test of skill, but a lesson for the entire academy, a demonstration of what humans could do when discipline, ingenuity, and courage combined. Alira adjusted her stance in the center of the arena, her steel sword glinting faintly in the soft glow of the overhead lights. She had faced waves of drones, complex mazes, and energy traps, yet she remained calm. Her amber eyes scanned the environment, taking in every detail: the walls, the floor, the moving hazards, and the patterns of the drones. Her breathing was steady, controlled. This final test would push her further than anything before, but she was ready. Captain Vorel raised his voice so all the observing cadets could hear. "Cadet Quinn, this is the ultimate simulation. The arena will test strategy, reflexes, and endurance simultaneously. The obstacles are unpredictable. The drones are relentless. The environment is unforgiving. Show us not only your skill, but the mastery of your mind and weapon." Alira's lips pressed into a thin line. She did not speak. Her training had taught her that words were secondary to action. Every movement, every decision, would speak louder than any explanation. The cadets around the arena leaned forward, eager to see the human cadet rise to the challenge. Some whispered quietly, "She's small, yet confident," one cadet said. "I can't believe she's going to survive this." "She's more than that," another replied. "She's controlling everything. The drones, the traps, even the arena itself." With a soft hum, the arena came to life. Walls rose and fell randomly. Floors shifted with energy grids, and drones armed with dual plasma emitters swarmed in unpredictable patterns. The challenge was designed to overwhelm even the most experienced cadets, but Elira moved as if she had anticipated every element. The first wave of drones launched a synchronized attack. Beams of plasma streaked through the arena, some fast, some slow, some splitting mid-flight. Elira moved like water, graceful, flowing, and controlled. She deflected each beam with her sword, redirecting energy safely into the arena walls. Sparks flashed with every strike, but she never faltered. Each movement was precise, each pivot calculated, each step intentional. Observing cadets whispered in astonishment. "She's predicting the attacks," one said. "Not reacting, predicting." "Yes," another replied. "And the sword, it's amazing. She's controlling the energy, almost like it's part of her body." Vorel nodded silently. He had seen humans demonstrate ingenuity before, but Elira's mastery was extraordinary. She combined observation, speed, and energy control in a way that few cadets, alien or human, could replicate. Her sword was not just a weapon, it was an extension of her mind, a tool that amplified her skill without replacing it. The next wave of drones attacked faster, more aggressively, and with multiple layers of energy barriers. Some beams moved in spirals, others zigzagged unpredictably. Elira adjusted instantly. She ducked under a high-energy beam, spun to deflect two more, and redirected another into the floor. Sparks lit the arena like tiny stars, illuminating her movements. Cadets gasped as they watched her. "She's unstoppable," one whispered. "Every move is perfect, yet it looks effortless." Elira moved through the maze with grace. She leaped over energy grids, slid under walls that suddenly shifted, and used her sword to guide plasma blasts harmlessly. Each action was deliberate, conserving energy while maximizing effect. The stored energy in her sword enhanced her reflexes, giving her brief, controlled bursts of speed when needed. The observers could see something remarkable. Elira was not only defending herself, she was controlling the battlefield. Every obstacle, every attack, every unpredictable element became part of her strategy. She was teaching everyone present an unspoken lesson. Skill and intelligence could surpass brute force and technology. Vorel decided to increase the stakes further. "Activate the final wave," he commanded. The arena transformed dramatically. Drones, energy grids, moving walls, and holographic enemies combined into a chaotic storm. The final simulation tested everything Elira had learned. The limits of her skill, endurance, and strategy. Elira's stance remained calm. She assessed the situation quickly, identifying patterns and predicting movement. Then she moved. She flowed through the chaos, deflecting beams, neutralizing drones, and avoiding traps with precision. Every strike of her sword was calculated, every redirection of energy purposeful. Cadets whispered excitedly. "She's doing it again. The human is controlling the chaos." "Aye." "Yes," another replied. "She's turning their attacks into tools for her own advantage." Incredible. The final drones attempted to regroup and overwhelm her, but Elira anticipated their movements. She used a combination of stored energy and quick reflexes to disable several at once. Her sword glowed faintly, dispersing absorbed plasma safely, giving her controlled bursts of speed that allowed her to outmaneuver the remaining drones. Finally, with a swift, fluid motion, she guided the last drone into a harmless collision, ending the simulation. The arena fell silent. The cadets stared, mouths slightly open, at the human cadet standing in the center, calm and composed, her sword glowing faintly before dimming as stored energy dissipated. Applause erupted from the sidelines. Cadets and instructors cheered, some standing, some bowing slightly in respect. They had witnessed something extraordinary. Not raw strength, not advanced technology, but mastery, discipline, and intelligence. Vorel stepped forward, lowering his plasma baton. He looked at Alira, his usual stern expression softened by genuine admiration. "Cadet Quinn," he said, "you have not only completed the ultimate test, but you have redefined what is possible. You have shown skill, intelligence, and control that few species can match. Humans are not to be underestimated. Today, you have proven that the mind and mastery of technique can surpass even the most advanced technology." Alira nodded slightly, her expression calm. She had proven her skill, inspired her peers, and changed the perception of humanity at the Academy. Her training, preparation, and ingenuity had turned what seemed impossible into a demonstration of excellence. The cadets around her whispered in amazement, "Humans? They are not just clever, they are exceptional." "They're pioneers," another said quietly. "They combine tradition, strategy, and skill in ways no one else does." Vorel addressed the class as a whole. "Let this be a lesson to all of you," he said. "Technology alone does not guarantee success. Intelligence, discipline, and adaptability are just as important. Humans have demonstrated that even a simple weapon, wielded with skill and understanding, can achieve what the most advanced technology cannot. Learn from this example." Alira returned to her place among the cadets, her sword resting at her side. She did not boast or celebrate. The lesson was clear. Her actions spoke louder than words ever could. The Academy had witnessed not only a demonstration of skill, but a revelation of the human way combining creativity, training, and courage to surpass expectations. Cadets continued to discuss the events long after the simulation ended. Some analyzed her sword techniques. Others studied her movement and energy control. The story of Alira Quinn would become a legend in the Academy, a lesson for all who came after. Even Vorel reflected quietly on what he had seen. Humans were small, unassuming, and underestimated by many. Yet they possessed qualities that could change the way the galaxy viewed combat. Intelligence, discipline, and the ability to innovate were not just human traits, they were human advantages. As the cadets left the arena, they carried with them a new respect for humans and a renewed understanding of what skill truly meant. Alira remained calm. Today, she had proven her abilities, inspired her peers, and reminded the galaxy that humans were not merely participants. They were innovators, capable of achieving the extraordinary. The final lesson of the day was simple, yet profound. Do not judge by appearances. Technology is powerful, but it is nothing without understanding, intelligence, and mastery. Humans had proven this truth, not through words, but through action, courage, and skill. And so, Alira Quinn stood at the center of the arena, calm and composed, her sword at her side, leaving behind a lasting lesson for all who had witnessed it. Humans create their own path, and that path can reshape the galaxy.